Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, Life Chiropractic College West. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 435 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dennis Buckley. And if you want to hear the story about how there's a hole in your diploma, stay tuned.
How's my microphone sound? Does it sound okay?
Your microphone sounds awesome. Welcome back. This is another episode of Chiro Hustle. It's a Chiro Hustle podcast, episode 435. Super stoked and blessed and thankful for Dennis Buckley joining me today. I think it's going to enrich a lot of your guys' lives that are watching this, that are tuning into this, that are going to comment and share on this. But before we jump into 435, I'm just going to tell you guys the big why around our show. And I think it's very important this day and age that people have freedom of speech. And we do that for chiropractic. We do protect freedom of speech in chiropractic, which I think is as the word essential became essential, freedom of speech became less essential. So we really protect that in the chiropractic space. And by doing so, we also protect the sacred trust. If you guys don't know what this means, go and look on your favorite search engine for BJ Palmer Sacred Trust. And then we do support subluxation-based chiropractic, innate intelligence, and universal intelligence. And if you don't know what any of that is, go and look on your favorite search engine. And innate intelligence is that when man or woman, the physical, get adjusted, it connects man or woman, the spiritual. And with that being said, we have Dennis Buckley. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jim. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so much is happening in the world. You said you just got done with the convention, the Cal Chiro convention. Share with us a little bit how that was.
It was excellent. The speakers were incredible. There was a lot of great. Well, first of all, everybody got to be together. It's something, it's not in a Zoom or handy and everything. There's nothing like being together face to face. A lot of hugs, hugs, not drugs. Hugs kill bugs. And we got to be together down in beautiful La Jolla, California, and San Diego. We had great speakers. We had great fellowship. It felt so good. Beautiful weather, beautiful resort. It was so needed. It was healing for all of us that we were able to get together.
That's good, man. That's really good. And you do some work behind the scenes helping organize that. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Well, this episode is about you. It's about your story. It's about your message. It's about what you're doing to stay healthy, where you see this profession going. But more importantly, I think most people that listen to this, your friends, your family, your colleagues, our audience, they're going to be curious about who is Dennis Buckley and how did he get to where he is today. So maybe you could share your chiropractic story so our audience can get to know you a little bit.
Well, I'd be glad to. It's one of my favorite stories, and I like it more every time I tell it because it's very exciting to me, at least to me. I'm a patient. I started out as a patient. I worked in the grocery industry for 18 years. And thought I was indestructible, burning the candle at both ends, having a great time, working hard. And one day, my back went out on me. A lot of the guys I worked with went to a chiropractor, and they told me you got to go to a chiropractor. When you're in pain, you'll go anywhere if it's going to work. And so they went to this doctor in Costa Mesa, California, Scott McCall, and he got me down on and evaluated me and basically said, your spine, you're 27 years old, but you look like you're about 50 years old. You've been living hard. And I said, yeah. So got chiropractic care, and I started going on a regular basis for about 2 years, as I was also a marathon runner at the time, which was another thing that happened. I started running marathons. Also at the same time, my girlfriend broke up with me on my birthday. And so I decided to go back to school because that was a great place to meet replacement girlfriends and also get an education. So one day I was going to school, my chiropractor, Scott McCall, asked me, he goes, what are you going to school for? And I said, I'm not sure yet. And he says, why don't you become a chiropractor? He goes, you'd be good at it. You love sports. You got a good personality. You're health minded, and he goes, check it out. So I did. And in fact, that day I called up 2 schools in the area: Los Angeles College of Chiropractic and Cleveland College of Chiropractic. And LACC invited me down, and I went down that afternoon. And one of the counselors said, why do you want to be a chiropractor? And he goes, well, I didn't know I wanted to be a chiropractor. I was just told today I should be a chiropractor, so I'm exploring it. And he goes, well, a lot of chiropractors are called. They're not, and they're chosen. And he goes, maybe you're being a chosen one. What are you proud about? And I said, well, I ran a marathon. And he goes, you ran a marathon? That's incredible. He said, well, why'd you do that? And I said, well, we started running and we were out of shape and we got in shape. And that marathon, he goes, well, going through this program is like a marathon. You got to stick to it. There's a lot of going on. And so I said, okay. And he said, he goes, why'd you start going to school? And I said, well, my girlfriend broke up with me, and a cousin who's a success said, hey, you got to, go back to school and figure out what you want to do. And so I'm on that pathway. And he goes, well, do you think it's an accident you're here today? I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, you run a marathon, you injure your back, you start going to a chiropractor, you go to school, you're trying to figure out what to do, and now you're here. He goes, I think you've been called. And I said, what are you talking about? Are you crazy? I have no idea what he's talking about. But I started thinking about it on the way home, and all of a sudden something inside of me got so excited, because all of a sudden it became very clear I was called to be a chiropractor. This was my life. It was November. It was in 1985, in November of 1985. On that day, driving home, I decided to become a chiropractor, and started the pathway, started going to school and doing my undergraduate work. And 1993, I graduated and been practicing for 29 years now.
29 years, called to be a chiropractor. What a title of our podcast. That was an easy one. Usually I'm making notes over here, coming up with the title of our episodes, and I'm thinking throughout the interviews how I can actually pull something together to make a compelling introduction. So I really like this one, called to be a chiropractor, from grocery store to practice.
That's right. It's good.
That's cool. It's always compelling to me to learn about people's message. And a lot of times people say your mess is your message. And sometimes we are called to do things and we don't know. And sometimes we have to trust innate. I think that's one of those unique words that we open up with, but innate's inside of all of us. And my favorite way to explain innate to people is, if you cut your finger, you don't have to ask it to heal. It heals naturally, because that's what the body does. It self-regulates, it self-heals. And sometimes the innate also is something spiritually, and it happens to us as a calling. And it's also that part of giving us path and direction. And we don't always get to make our choices. The choices are sometimes made for us.
Yes, definitely. They're true. We need to listen. Spiritually, physically, what I listen to innate a lot. And when I do a whole lot better than trying to do it myself.
I think they say in chiropractic, innate always provides.
That's right.
So let's talk about breaking in as a new practitioner, and maybe some advice that you would give to somebody if they were looking to grow a practice and to get people, as they say in chiropractic, stay, pay, and refer.
Right.
What are some of your techniques that you've used over the years to grow a practice?
Well, I'll start at the end. I always wondered why a cohort of people would go through a program of education, graduate, go out into the world, and you would get so many different stories of success and mediocrity or failure. And one of the things, when I first graduated, I was very blessed to have some mentors. I was very involved when I was in school in going out and interacting with doctors, met a lot of doctors who gave a lot of advice. You should do this, you do this. Because I wanted to know what was the path I should take to be successful, how to do it the right way. I wasn't afraid of working, and where should I go? And one of the things that happened was is that I learned about the power of habits. Habits make us or break us. One of my first mentors, my first employer, Dr. Michael Budensich, when the first day I met him, we were talking, and he said, success is when preparation meets opportunity. You got to be prepared. You always have to be preparing, and you always have to wait for the opportunity. Sometimes the opportunities you actually have to go to. So when I first started practicing, I went to a Parker seminar, and Jim Parker said, the more you meet and greet, the more you can treat. I took that as I better go out there and meet and greet a lot of people so we can start treating them. Dr. Gilles Lamarche also talked to me about, and I got to meet him when I was a student, and he told me about going out and being the chiropractor that everybody knows. So when I came back to Pasadena, California, I started going out into the community and meeting as many people as possible, letting them know I was a chiropractor and I could help. Let me show you how I could help you. I also started going to networking events, breakfast events, anywhere there was people gathering, I was there to meet people. And I say that was probably the way I built my practice, is by being known and knowing people and getting involved, not just joining organizations, but running organizations. I actually became the chairman of the board of the Pasadena Chamber of Commerce in my career. Also, I've been president of the California Chiropractic Association. I've been on the board of the National Football Foundation. I actually was on the board of the Arthritis Foundation, meeting a lot of people. So I guess my secret is I went out and I met and greeted as many people as possible, handed out cards, asked them for their cards, learned more about them. By learning about other people, they asked me about myself. And so that was one of the habits that really guided me. Until this day, I'm still a networker. I'm still meeting people and greeting people and going out and being with the people, not just sitting in my office going like, well, I'm entitled. Where's everybody at? No, I went out and met them. They'll say, people say, well, people are waiting for their ship to go in. Well, you probably have a better chance of getting that ship if you go out, swim out, and meet it somewhere. Give to my success. And guess what? Anybody can do that too. They can go and meet and greet people. I also wanted to know about the habits of successful practitioners. And so what I also did was I started a process of interviewing chiropractors that I met through also, not only meeting people, but meeting chiropractors throughout the United States. And I interviewed over 100 doctors about what it was for them. How did they become successful? I see this. I wrote a book called SCORE, Student Chiropractors on the Road to Excellence, that evolved into another book called The Hole in Your Diploma, what basically is the habits of the most successful chiropractors in the United States. And I interviewed them and I asked them a simple question. What were you like in school? What habits did you develop in school that made you successful? How did you transition from student to doctor? How did you transition from doctor to successful doctor? And what also keeps you motivated and pumped up and excited today? Because chiropractors that I interviewed are still kicking butt and knocking it out of the park on a regular basis today, because they're like you, Jim. They're basically very pumped up, excited about chiropractic and what it could provide for an ailing and hurting world. And so I interviewed all these people, and I basically was able to derive out of them the habits. And it wasn't so much the habit; it was more the way they were and what they did on a regular basis that made them successful. And I could share that with you if you want, Jim. It's pretty short and simple.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. First of all, they have a service mindset. They were there asking, what can I do for you? On everything they did, it was a service mindset, not only to the community and to their patients, but to their profession and to their into things that they hold important. They had a service mindset. How can I help you was their mantra, not what can you do for me? Two, they did everything with excellence. They basically did not cut corners. If it was going to make their bed, if they were going to cook a meal, if they were going to drive their car, provide an adjustment, basically give a report of findings, do a speech, they did it all with excellence. They also had number three, they had high personal standards. They basically had integrity and ethics in all they did. They handled their finances with responsibility. They basically took care of their personal health. They were the they were the example, not the warning of what you should do with health. They basically had such good health and good health habits. People wanted what they had. They also managed their time and energy better than everybody else. They made time for things that were important. And they were also effective communicators. They were basically master of the craft of communication, not only verbally, but physically, and convey a message. And one of the best way they communicated with people is by being a good listener. And the fourth thing that they were basically entrepreneurs. They basically had an entrepreneur mindset, which is basically going back to that state of meeting people, greeting people, connecting with people. So basically 4 things: service, mindset, excellence in everything they do, high personal standards, and they were entrepreneurial in their mindset. Those were the habits of the successful chiropractors that I taught.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, Life Chiropractic College West. Let's hustle.
You know, there's a lot here. I'm just going to recap some of this. Success is when preparation meets opportunity, which I really like that saying. This is my spin on that. Shake more hands, make more money, save more lives. And I think that when you go and meet a lot of people, you make more money. And when you make more money, you save more lives. It's a compound effect. And the more service that you do, the more opportunities you get. And that's on your book, the hole in your diploma. You know, the hole in the diploma is networking,
right,
and building a personal brand and becoming, right, as you said, known, liked, and trusted, as Napoleon Hill would say also. But I think the next level to that is become known, loved, and trusted. And, you know, we always used to hear this too. It's not about what you know, it's who you know. But the thing is, it's about how you treat who you know. So when you have this network and they say that's your net worth, you have to be a great example of how can I serve you? How can I help you? You know, the people in my circle that are closest to me, they'll always get messages from me and say, hey, how can I support you today? And I think that that's what's gotten me heads and shoulders upon further than anything else. Just saying, hey, how can I help you today? How can I support you today? So I think your synopsis on service mindset, do things with excellence, high personal standards, be an entrepreneur, that is chiropractic. Like that is the unwritten bylaws of chiropractic. The ones that make it do those things.
Well, that was my conclusion after talking to all these incredible chiropractors, and they all had incredible stories. It was fascinating to listen to it, and knowing that, you know, there's more than one way to get there, but there's one principle about which to get there, and that was founded about these principles.
I love it. So let's turn the page back to you a little bit more. I'm always curious to know how our practitioners, specifically almost being in 3 decades, what are you doing to keep yourself healthy? How are you taking care of yourself?
I actually, I've been exercising, stretch a lot more stretching. That's one thing I've really been working on, doing a lot more stretching, keeping myself limber. I get adjusted on a regular basis. I also receive acupuncture, massages. I have a really bad knee that's been degenerative for over 40 years that I've been able to function quite well with. And unfortunately, it's kind of giving out on me. So I may have to do something a little bit more invasive, but I was supposed to be replaced 20 years ago, but doing a lot of things as far as health-wise have been able to allow me to function and do as much. I've run 3 marathons. I ran over 105 and 10Ks, triathlons, snow skiing, water skiing, being active, being out there. I also, like last year, I rode 100 miles, a bike ride in Vermont. My wife and myself went out there on a Vermont bike tour, And I find it's much, I can't run anymore, but I can ride a bike a long way. So, it's not basically looking at limitations, it's looking at opportunities. So I take care of myself that way. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I do work 6 days a week. I'm here in the office and, a lot of people to see. And right now, unfortunately for those that are committed, it's always been a great time to be a chiropractor, but we have like in the Los Angeles area down where I'm at, we have a lot of chiropractic orphans. A lot of offices closed down, and people that were going to the chiropractor on a regular basis are looking for a place to go. Mm-hmm. So we've been basically bringing in the orphans, and it's been busting loose our practice. Like I had, and it's kind of interesting. I've always networked and worked with a lot of medical doctors for referrals over the year. And this year, I've averaged over 24 medical doctor referrals a week because we're helping them because they don't want to deal with a lot of people with back pain and neck pain and neuromusculoskeletal problems, but they're sending them to a place they trust. And so we're getting a lot of people that normally would have been put on drugs or physical therapy only or more pain management or even surgery. We're getting them in the office, being able to provide chiropractic care to them and other supportive care as needed to improve, to relieve them of their pain, keep them out of pain, improve their lifestyle, improve their function, improve their longevity. So it's been kind of nice lately. We've been able to help that many people, and the MDs love it. They trust us now. They trust me at least, and they trust us because we basically were helping them because we're dealing with patients they don't want to deal with.
Well, there's a saying that I've learned that I say quite a bit. I actually said it in the last episode I recorded today is if we don't tell them the truth about chiropractic, someone else will close them for drugs or surgery. Right. And, the world is very curious right now about getting healthy. And they're seeing first time in a long time that like lifespan is starting to decrease and that there's potentiality for their children to have shorter time lifespans than what they've had. And they're seeing that health is a real important part of longevity and human performance and quality of life. And they're realizing that chiropractic has been doing that for a long time. And the medical communities are starting to wake up too. And there's a great awakening. And you're right, there might be some chiropractic orphans, but there's a huge interest and curiosity for other alternatives. I know it's a stinky thing to say about chiropractic, but it's not the alternative, but people are searching for alternative. Right. And they're looking for something else that can keep them healthy long term. And that's what the relationship with the chiropractor does. So I think you're spot on, building those relationships and getting those referrals. That's I mean, I'm surprised you have time to do an interview with me today. You're so busy.
Well, this is my relief, the time to actually talk about it, do things like this, and where I'm not seeing patients. I gotta, this is renewal for me, but also this is great to be on your program.
Yeah, thank you. Well, let me ask you this too, because I'm really curious about I'm curious. Like the world is curious, but I'm super curious, and chiropractic being my muse, I'm always wanting to know, like, if I looked into the crystal ball, where's the profession going in a sense? Like, where do you see 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? How do you see chiropractic developing?
Well, we've existed for over 125 years, despite our problems, our controversies. And I think that the chiropractic profession is divinely blessed because we've been able to withstand all the attacks, all the the things that people have done to try to contain and eliminate. But the thing is that the dedicated chiropractors hung in there. I mean, like there's a lot of how many chiropractors went to jail for chiropractic? They had a higher purpose. So I think if we can have a lot of dedicated chiropractors dedicated to chiropractic principles and basically resurrect those principles, not resurrect them, but remind them of those principles, because I look back at them all the time now and realize that's the foundation about, the subluxation, innate intelligence. Innate is interfered with. We're not going to work as well. We release innate intelligence. It's a simple process. Let the body heal itself. I think it's going to be great for the chiropractors because we have things that we can do that can offer people safe, effective, and affordable. Keyword, affordable, safe, effective, and affordable care to help them regain their health, retain their health, and also magnify their health or optimize their health. So I think by us being out there, we're going to be the best option over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, best option. And there's a lot of research. I actually, this last weekend, there's so much research, which is nice to have, that basically shows the effectiveness, but also the safety and the cost savings of chiropractic. And a lot of times now what's happening kind of in the arena out there is they are listening to the research that basically says that what chiropractic does is not only good, but it's also very, very safe and very, very effective. But patients, they want the results. And what happens is that I think we're in a really blessed spot. For example, if a patient goes into a medical doctor office in most cases and basically has back pain, the doctor will have them touch their toes, maybe order an x-ray, said, you got arthritis, here's some anti-inflammatories, take these and we'll see you in a month. Nothing has happened to the patient, except basically they've been looked at. When a patient comes into a chiropractor's office with the same thing, they're touched, they're palpated, they're examined, they may be treated, they may be educated, they may be given a dose of reassurance that they're going to get better. And what happens is people actually have something happen to them. And basically people are longing for touch. They're longing for validation. They want the doctor to give them a good listening to. And that's what I think what we do really well is we listen to our patients very well, and we probe and we care, and we basically get down to what's the real problem, what may be causing this, and then we educate them and have a caring attitude. What that does is those people become our biggest, they're our biggest victors. They're out there talking to people in the street. They're telling their neighbors about what happens, and they're actually defending us also too. People say, oh, you shouldn't go to a chiropractor. And a lot of people are saying, oh no, you should go to a chiropractor. So what's happening now, I think in the next 5, 10, 15 years, with our message and with our methods and with our treatments, that we're going to basically shine, and we're going to be able to, if you take advantage of this situation, basically, improve the world that we live in, not only for the patients, but for ourselves and for our families, and get more people interested in becoming chiropractors and also being better chiropractors.
Well, you always everything you've said here stirs up a lot with me. I like to anchor it down a bit. But I've also thought this for a long time, and it was like taught to me early on. I've been in the industry now 14 years, but it's there should be 2 doctors in your life, one to save you from dying and one to keep you healthy. And people are looking more and more for the one to keep them healthy. Okay. And I think that it's really cool. And, also that we have to have more understanding of professionalism for other professional disciplines. And it can't be us against them anymore. It has to be us with them. And I think it could be eventually that we come to a position where the chiropractors become the referrers. Like they're the ones that get the case first. And then they can do least invasive first. They can do rehab first, and then see what we can do to make these people actually sustain health. And if it's something with limitations of matter, which is a chiropractic 33 principle, if we can determine if it's a limitations of matter case, then they have to go on to something with a bit more up level, inside out approach. But I do think that there is room for everybody at the table moving forward. We just have to not live in the dogma that it's either us or them, or they're right, we're wrong, or they're wrong, we're right, whatever we see it. And I learned also in the profession to build some more unity through diversity, and know that each person does things a little bit different, and to have a higher level of acceptance for the chiropractic brother and sister too, because I think that that's a place where in 5 to 10 years, if that doesn't start self-correcting, like I said earlier before the call started, getting 60,000 chiropractors on the same page is kind of, it's a big goal. So that would be cool. That would be a chiropractic utopia if BJ Palmer could write today's one.
And to what you said about being the referrer, this weekend they're estimating that by 2030 they're going to need 130,000 primary care doctors, because people are dropping out of practice, not going to primary. So the chiropractor may become the primary first contact for a lot of patients that will basically decide whether or not they go. And they've actually used this model before in Illinois. I think it was in Illinois. They did a study where they had doctors as chiropractors, and it basically people had better outcomes, there were less problems, and it saved money.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool just to know that we're going in a direction of more inclusive and more brand awareness. Positioning, I think, has a lot to do with it, because you guys never stepped in and accepted that drugs or surgery money. Chiropractic was always standalone, kind of bullied around for that purpose, kind of discredited for that purpose. But now, because like you said, 127 years later, chiropractors held their line. And now we're going to see like the real fruit bearing from the tree, which I think we've waited a long time. They say in the world, when's the best time to plant a tree? Today, or 10 years ago, or 25 years ago, I don't know. But you get the point. Like, we've planted the chiropractic tree that's now starting to bear fruit. And I think it's really cool that chiropractic is starting to realize that they do have a huge potentiality to really play a larger place in the healthcare arena, which I think really could help a lot of people. So I'm excited for our visions together. I know we're at 30 minutes now. We're a little bit over our time, but I'd like to still get into the last two questions with you. Maybe we can go for about 5 more minutes. Maybe you could share with me some of your chiropractic heroes, and if you could sit down and have an hour with anybody, who would that be?
Actually, my chiropractic heroes include Dr. Michael Budensich, my first chiropractor I worked for, Dr. Larry Markson, Dr. John DeMartini, probably one of my best friends and guys that influenced me, Dr. Eric Plasker. And then other people like Jim Parker that had a lot of influence on me. Any of the leaders of the profession that held the leadership of state associations, national associations, those people, they put in so much work. They were my heroes in what I like. I like the question, who would I sit down and have lunch with, dinner with? Well, I thought about that. And there's 2 people I'd love to have dinner with or lunch. That would be Coach John Wooden and Benjamin Franklin. As far as a chiropractor, I'd love to have, of course, BJ Palmer. Who else would you want to sit down with, or Dee Palmer sit down and listen to? But as far as people, outside the profession, John Wooden, who is a huge influence and hero of mine, coach at UCLA, and Benjamin Franklin, because if chiropractic would have been around in the 1776 and whatever form was, Benjamin Franklin would have became a chiropractor, because he was one of the first health nuts. He invented swim fins, if people didn't know that. And he was the first one that went vegetarian. And he lived a long life, and he had a lot of vitality, as I hear.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool to meet Ben Franklin. That guy was definitely one of the most powerful people to ever walk in the United States of America. And I think it's really cool, some of your heroes. Some of them are mine too. I actually had some opportunity to spend time with Eric Plasker this past weekend down at Life University. So yeah, you solid people to help form you into who you are today. And last question, I'm just curious. Everybody has a miracle story in chiropractic. You've been doing it 29 years, almost 3 decades. Would you mind sharing with us a miracle story to close us out today?
Sure. We have daily miracles in our office, and sometimes we get a little so used to it that it's not that big of a deal. But I think the miracles, one of the miracle stories we had is the one where you get the results you didn't count on getting because you have a condition you didn't know about. Had a girl, she was 8 years old, and her mom brought her in because her back hurt. And the reason her back hurt is because she had asthma and coughed a lot. And so sure enough, tight spine, subluxations of the thoracic spine. So we started adjusting her, and she felt better. Okay. Problem is that she had a very high sensitivity to physical activity, and she was not able to go outside and play, because every time she would play, she'd have an exercise-induced asthma attack, and you have to go to the emergency room. Well, kids will be kids, and after we started adjusting her and her back felt better and everything, she wanted to go outside, and her mom wouldn't let her go outside because of the fact that she'd go out there and play. Well, one day, innate will take over and tell you you're okay. The daughter went out and she was outside playing, running with the kids, and the mother was looking for her and finding her, and she did not have any more exercise-induced asthma. And so we took care of her through her life, getting regular adjustments. And in high school, she was a track and field CIF championship in California for the 800 meters.
What a story. Dr. Buckley, thanks for being my guest today.
It's a pleasure, Jim. Thanks for all you do also.
Yeah, it's so much fun to hear these stories and to have this position to, like you did 100 interviews of chiropractors to find out how they are successful. And I'm thankful I can carry the torch.
Thank you.
Yeah. And in closing, if people want to learn more about you, where can they find you? Where can we send them to?
If you want to get a free copy of the book, The Hole in Your Diploma, you can go to holeinmydiploma.com. And there's a space there that they can put your name in, and I will email the e-version of the book to you. If you want to buy the regular version, you can go on Amazon and purchase it. If people need to get a hold of me, my email is dennis@health-advantage.net, and our website is health-advantage.net. We're in Pasadena, California, and be glad to talk to anybody have any questions. And I'm also learning also, so if you can share something with me, I'm all ears.
Great, Dennis. Well, I appreciate you being my guest today, episode 435. Thank you for sharing your resources, your assets, and your story. And I'm going to close out by telling everyone you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.